I know it's fiction, but still, that's how well this story is done. We see Six on the ground with the wreckage of the Covenant supercarrier coming down behind him. He finds a weapon and makes his way into a city called New Alexandria. As we become him again, we hear this.
This is Kilo Dispatch. All available teams advance to Traxxas Tower. Evacuation will commence ASAP.
Copy, Dispatch. What's the status of the tower pad?
Hey, I know that voice. Great to hear from you, Sarge. The tower pad is clear for now, so the next task is to get there and help evacuate civilians. It's slow going because every few steps you run into a suicide grunt. These little idiots come running at you with an active plasma grenade in each hand, and most of the time they start out too far away and don't reach you before the grenades go off. They're more of a nuisance than anything else and can really slow you down. And then there's this guy. That'll teach him to get in my way. Now, which way was I going? Oh, right, follow the bad guys. You hook up with some Marines and start escorting civilians to the tower for evacuation.
Area clear.
If you're a regular viewer, you know that's called flanking. I learned it playing Brothers in Arms, and it's a maneuver I love to use. And I'm not above saying that was a textbook example, because it was. So there. You're heading for an elevator that'll take you to a tunnel, that'll take you to a tower, that'll take you to the house that Jack built. You activate the elevator, but Johnson is evacuating a group of civilians from the floor below you, and he got there first. So you have to wait for his group to get to the bottom, and then he'll send the elevator back for you. Meanwhile, all the Covenant on the planet have just landed in the courtyard. Of course. This attack is led by brutes. And guess what one of them has? Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to use it just then. But you can bet it's going with me. In the elevator, we hear that the evacuation by way of the tower is now out of the question. What's plan B? We don't actually know yet. Johnson said something about some ODST guys with a plan, but he didn't say what. So let's go find out.
On my mark. 3, 2, 1, jump!
Whatever it is, it involves flying around with this thing. Good enough for me. There's a landing pad nearby, and the plan is to capture it so people can evacuate. I'll be honest, I had an awful time with this thing. I couldn't gauge how far I was going, how high I was going, how much to give it. I wasn't sure how to get back down. I lost count of how many times I died because I missed my mark. Other times I made it, but I'm not sure that was a good thing. Like this one, which I finally made on my 5th try. That didn't happen to the other guy. How come he gets the one that flies straight and I get the one that goes straight up and down? Further on, I finally got to use my awesome weapon. But using it on grunts seemed like a waste of resources, so for them I switched back to the assault rifle. By the way, did you notice what happened in the lower left corner? I lost a squad member. That happens in this game. Anytime you see multiple names down there like that, they're members of your squad and they're vulnerable. As far as I know, there aren't any consequences for losing them, and really, most of the time I'm not even sure where they are. But I do like that you can lose people, and they have names, at least until they become a little red X and disappear. Moving on. This thing's called a focus rifle. What does it do? Not much, apparently. What's that guy made of?
Oh, he ain't getting up.
2 direct headshots to take down a jackal? I've seen Nerf guns that could do better than that. Thank you. Sure. Focus rifle, huh? More like this rifle. Then I discovered I was using it wrong. You're supposed to hold the trigger like the laser in Fear. How I'm supposed to know that is anybody's guess. One thing I haven't talked about. The grunts apparently aren't speaking English in this one. I couldn't find a good representative example to show you because most of it's just quick, short phrases, and during the longer ones there was always a bunch of other noise going on so you could barely hear them. But while I was sorting out the focus rifle, I managed to get this. That actually sounds familiar. I don't know if that's how they did it, and I've never cared enough to find out. But it does make me wonder how they learned English so fast, because right after these events in the first game, they're speaking English and inhaling helium. That is one rapid descent into madness. Anyway, the Covenant have a couple of gun turrets set up on our landing pad, and our job is to remove them by any means necessary. I suspect these guys really like that last part. For that matter, so do I. You hop onto a Falcon's minigun and escort the evac ships away. And here I have to comment on something that I usually don't. The music. Listen to just a bit of this.
Delta 1-5 to dispatch. Banshee squadron on my tail. Taking fire. Copy, Delta 1-5. Can you... Mayday, port engine's hit. We're going in. I'm going to try to set her down.
Just like that.
The radio chatter suggests that we're getting away. Our man even says we're clear. But the music is positively funereal. We know what the ultimate end of the story is, and even when it looks like we're having some success, the music in the background subtly reminds me that all of this is doomed. Noble Five's sacrifice to bring down that supercarrier? Futile. I have to admit, this is almost painful. The voice acting is superior to anything I've heard, especially when, in spite of all our efforts, the Covenant shoot the civilian transport down. Over the radio, we hear that there's another transport with 600 people on it that's desperate to take off. We need to clear the sky so they can, but we can't get any air support from our frigates in orbit because they have their own waves of Covenant to deal with. We get to where our forces are trying to get the transport away, and our next job is to arm some missile batteries nearby. There's a Corvette right above us that's making life miserable. These batteries should be sufficient to make it stop. You grab a Warthog and have some fun for a while, except when a grunt throws a grenade under it and upends it. That'll teach him to badmouth my driving. I got the first battery armed, and at the second one, I got to have an awesome weapon quick draw contest. I win. Activate the second battery, and then you have to go up to the control room to fire them. They're not automated? What century is this?
Now!
Civilian transport away. You saved a lot of lives today, Spartan.
As you watch it go, Kat comes on the radio. She's sending a transport to pick you up. It's time to regroup. When you land, she tells you the Covenant have put communications jammers in several high-rises around the city. We're completely cut off. So you're going to fly a Falcon to places she tells you to go, and when she confirms the target, you blast it to smithereens. This has promise. Here's a very nice feature. Hit the right bumper and you can lock your altitude. That beats the crap out of the Banshee, where you have to keep holding it up because it won't do this. The way the mission was stated, I assumed we'd be shooting them from the Falcon. But no, you have to land at each building, fight your way in, and deactivate them by hand. So, more of these amazing firefights. Aw, darn. My only gripe is, we're fighting brutes again. They're not as interesting as the elites. Oh well, sucks to be either of them, because here comes the Spartan. team of Marines with you does a very nice job of helping you clear the way back to your Falcon, and you head for the next task.
Global 6, we're getting reports of elites and engineers trying to break into the Mizraya complex. I want them taken out.
Okay, two things. First, what kind of complex? I listened to that several times and still couldn't catch it. Good thing I don't have to know. The nav point will direct me to the little complex anyway. Second, since when do we know anything about the engineers? They didn't show up at all until ODST, and even there, they were a total mystery to everybody except the mission leader, and she was keeping everybody in the dark about them. Suddenly, in a prequel, they're common knowledge? Continuity, people. It's a good word. Get to know it. Well, that was certainly helpful. Back to the game.
Line 'em up! Coming! I dust guys like you for a living.
Yeah, aiming this thing is a bit of an issue because it tends to be really sluggish in responding to the controls. It'd be nice if you could aim the gun without having to turn the whole bird, but no such luck. Maybe they'll fix that in Falcon 2.0. You play tag with a few Banshees, then get word that another team wasn't able to take down their jammer. They've sustained damage and need to get out of there, so you get to go deal with the next jammer. You fight inside, then with Cat occasionally giving directions, you wander around until you find it. So after it withstands all that shooting and grenades and stuff, you push a button and it says, "Please, Mother, I'd rather do it myself," and blows up. Makes perfect sense. Some drones come along and try to spoil your day, but there aren't that many of them. You can either hang around and shoot it out with them, or if you don't feel like it, just make a beeline for the elevator, hop in and leave them behind. It's nice to have options.
Command, this is Gunnery Sergeant Buck with the 11th ODST, over.
Copy, Gunnery Sergeant. Go ahead.
Phantom's got one of my squads pinned. I need to take it out and evac my troopers.
Hey, we know him! From several years later on Earth, where he didn't do much better than he's doing now. I'm starting to wonder about this guy. There's Buck's Falcon. We're supposed to escort it somewhere. Okay, let's get going. He's going in circles. Why is he going in circles?
Is something supposed to happen?
That Banshee ain't so friendly. Got one!
Finally something to do! I checked. From the time I started that clip to the time something actually happened was 45 seconds. What? So we sat there for almost a full minute with absolutely nothing to do but watch that other Falcon fly in circles. I'm going to guess the developers built that part of the game on pizza and beer day, and there wasn't any pizza. Once the Banshees started showing up, there were some nice dogfights with them, and it was a lot of fun in spite of the Falcon's slow movement controls. But again, there were long gaps between action sequences while Buck just kept flying in a circle around that one building. His message said there was a Phantom harassing his troops, so he couldn't evacuate them, but I haven't seen a Phantom yet. I also haven't seen any troops. So I'm really not sure what was going on in this part. The game really seemed to slow down at this point, and I started to feel like I was getting bogged down in this stuff and not really moving forward. After you take down some requisite number of Banshees, Buck finally heads off across the city. And I'm looking at this architecture and thinking about Gotham City from the Michael Keaton movies. How many hallucinogens do you have to ingest before you decide to build a place like this? Eventually, the offending phantom pops up on your screen. You and Buck move in and double team it.
Got incoming!
Enemy dropship inbound. Stay on target.
Not a tango in sight.
It really would be nice if this thing steered better, but we got the job done and it was enjoyable. So I guess that'll do for now. One of the sort of unsung things about this Falcon is the 2 extra gunners you have in the side doors. They do a very good job and are as effective at taking down Banshees as I was.
Hit the heat on. Got a hit.
You have to go take down the 3rd jammer because a pair of hunters are keeping the other team from getting to it. Battle your way inside and there they are. Hunters are vulnerable from the back and I was using a needle rifle that has good long-range capability, so I managed to get behind this one while it was after the other guys and pepper it from the back. Yeah! What? It's still standing? Okay now, say what? That thing should have been down by now even if I was just using an assault rifle. And now I'm out of ammo, so I guess we go down and do it the hard way. I wasn't sure what it was going to take to bring this thing down, so I took the time to go back out and find more ammo for the needle rifle. Then I came back in and tried again. I now know how many of those needle explosions it takes to kill a hunter. One more than I already did. Now it was time to deal with the other one. It was up by the jammer, obviously with a view to keeping us away from it.
Jammer offline. Well done, Nova 6. Head back to your Falcon.
I have never done that before. I managed to overload the jammer without fighting the other hunter. That means I can head on to the next objective and more or less assume that those other guys will eventually take it out. That's very different and I like it. One more way that I get to make actual choices. Except the other hunter didn't want to give me a choice. What? There's 2 of them? I already killed one and these things don't travel in 3s. According to Halo lore, they're mated pairs, and as far as we know, they're not into threesomes. So where'd that one come from? I hate to do it, but I have to cry foul. The hunters have a very specific backstory in this world, and this violates it. I can't let it go by without calling somebody on it.
Now you know continuity is important. You know people are going to catch you on this. Why do you do stuff like that? You know you're not supposed to. Are you even listening to me?
Now that all the jammers are gone, you need to head over to ONI headquarters and help cover the evacuation there. The first step is to explore the area around the building and take out half a dozen shade turrets that the Covenant are using to keep our aircraft from taking off. Then it's time to go land again. You link up with your team and reminisce a little bit about George, Noble 5 who gave himself to destroy that supercarrier. Then someone apparently sets off a nuke over the city. You start trying to get to safety when Cat takes a hit from a Covenant weapon and is pretty well killed instantly. I've talked before about the long cutscenes in Halo games, and this is one of the longer ones. Thing is, although it feels too long, it more or less has to be the way it is to move the story along. So all I can say is, if you're really into the game at this point, stay that way and enjoy the scene, long though it may be. It's worth it. The scene ends with word that you're being redeployed to Sword Base to keep Dr. Halsey's work out of enemy hands. And you're going to be there with one less squad member, which hurts in many ways. Let's do this. Clear out the first outpost and we find this. This is going to make things easier. Step 1 is to take out some anti-aircraft towers. We take these down the same way as in the other games. What? A grenade didn't do it? Well, why do it right when you can do it again? I really don't have an explanation for that. My only guess is that the grenade I threw either didn't go off or bounced somewhere ineffective. Whatever the reason, that was a little strange. But there's no time to think about that now because we have 2 more of these things to blow up. At the next one, I learned that there's more than one way to skin a anti-aircraft gun.
Nice job, 6. Falcons, commence descent.
I was actually shooting at the guards up there on the structure, but I noticed weird things happening on the gun when I did, so I just kept pounding it to see if it'd work.
Meet you inside the base, Lieutenant.
They sure gave it a reach.
Yeah.
It did. You have to abandon the tank to enter the actual base. Once you're in, the AI tells you to proceed to the predetermined coordinates. Where is that and what do we do when we get there? She doesn't know. That's encouraging. Two in a row. I do love this game. When you get to the coordinates, the mystery deepens. There's nothing there, nobody to rescue, nothing load-bearing to blow the place up, zip. Then suddenly, your AI gets revised coordinates from another AI with a clearance well above her own. Anybody want to guess what that AI's name is? One of them opens a door for you, and you head into a tunnel that's supposed to take you to the new coordinates. Those coordinates, incidentally, happen to be 2,000 meters underground, of course. The tunnel takes you to a tram where during the trip you get an unexpected communication.
Apologies for the unusual security measures, Commander, but the stakes demand it.
Dr. Halsey, casualty reports have you listed as...
Yes, well, as they say, news of my death has been greatly exaggerated. I only wish the same could be said of the rest of Noble Team.
We all do, ma'am.
She explains that the data Noble 2 got for her was the key to understanding what they were excavating there.
Your orders were a pretext to bring you to me and have been overridden. You are here, Team Noble, to ensure the delivery of this vital data to a secure location.
Doctor, our orders are to destroy all sensitive material.
Others will handle the demolition.
I'll need to confirm this new directive with command.
Colonel Holland will be briefed. You belong to Oni now.
We haven't seen much of Dr. Halsey up to this point, but from what I have seen, I get the feeling she's not a very nice person. Frankly, I don't like her. I know she created the Spartans and the AIs, but apparently she did all that without feeling any particular need to be polite to them, or anybody else. I know she's under pressure, but even so, deceiving her own team like that is not a good thing to do. Really, my biggest temptation is to describe her with a word that starts with a B and ends with an itch. Just saying.
Before you is an alien artifact neither human nor covenant in origin, advanced beyond our comprehension, until now. Thanks to Noble 2, the decrypting of its data is nearly complete.
Whatever we're doing down here, we better do it quick.
Have your data ready, ma'am. We're coming to you.
The decrypting process is still underway.
I don't think you understand. We're out of time. If it isn't portable when we reach you, it's gonna get buried.
Bury any of it, and you bury mankind's best chance for survival. Commander, you've been wondering what your Spartans died for? They died for this. Please, buy me all the time you can.
Seriously, why does she think she has to be so cryptic? She calls it a super important artifact, says it's the key to humanity's survival, but does she tell him what it does? Does she tell him how it's going to save us and why it's so important? I'm sorry, but even though she actually said please once in her life, I still don't like her. Nevertheless, we're off to defend the lab so she can finish decrypting whatever the hell it is she's doing.
Noble team, there are 4 defense turrets to assist you in defending the lab. Get them online, and quick. When the turrets take too much damage, they'll shut down to recharge. You'll need to reactivate them when they come back online.
Noble 6, activate the turret to set up a perimeter.
Is this going to be one of those levels where you have to scurry around like a rat in a maze doing busy work? I hope not, but there's only one way to find out. Just kidding. The answer to my question, by the way, is a great big no. This is a Halo-class, holy guacamole, this is a blast firefight. Wave after wave after wave of Covenant come at you with everything they have, including a Wraith that's shelling you while the foot soldiers are charging, and not once did I have to go reactivate one of those turrets. Did they actually do anything? I have no idea. I had my own problems. Eventually, the doctor finishes matching the lucky coconut to the magic Hawaiian palm tree, or whatever she was doing, and opens the door.
What is this stuff?
Knowledge. A birthright from an ancient civilization. This AI is its custodian, and she has chosen you as her couriers.
Hold on. So now Cortana has all the knowledge of the Forerunners pulled out of that artifact and transferred into her. Then why didn't she know what Halo was the moment she saw it? And why didn't she know what it was for until she got inside its system? And why didn't she know about the Flood?
A plot hole?
Chosen by an AI.
By this AI, yes. Her measure of you carries as much weight as my own.
Oh, so that's why she said they let me pick in Halo 3. The way she said it there, it sounded like they let all the AIs choose their Spartans. But she was the only one who got to pick, and this is why. The knowledge thing still bugs me, but that's one little mystery solved.
Perhaps more. You are to take her to the UNSC shipbreaking yard in Azad. There, you'll find a Halcyon-class cruiser waiting to get her off-planet.
I understand.
Do you?
Yeah, you just explained it, hello? If you told me all that and I still don't understand, you suck at explaining.
Mankind is outmatched. When Reach falls, and it will fall, our annihilation is all but certain. Unless we can glean from this artifact a defense against the Covenant. A game changer. On the level of the conical bullet in the 19th century, or faster-than-light travel in the 23rd.
But that's not what happened. Master Chief didn't destroy Halo and the Covenant using knowledge Cortana already had. They made a blind jump and just happened to come out near the first Halo, and from there Cortana basically made it up as she went along. I'm really not sure what to make of this.
And what if we can't?
An apt question, if there were somewhere else to place our hope. There is not.
We know that Cortana fits into a chip that goes onto the back of a Spartan's helmet. I'm not sure what to do with Tinkerbell there.
Take it, Lieutenant. She has made her choice. Do you have it?
Yes.
Say the words, please.
I have it.
You are standing there looking at him having it. If he does not in fact have it, then you have gone insane and are imagining this whole thing. In fact, you are imagining you. The instant you fall asleep and stop imagining, you will cease to exist, and he will still have it. Good grief.
Dr. Halsey, Noble 3 will escort you to Castle Base.
I require no escort, Commander.
June, make sure nothing falls into enemy hands.
I'll do what's necessary, sir.
I think we all know what that means, including Dr. Halsey. Suddenly, she doesn't look so smug. The rest of you get on a Pelican headed for the ship the doctor mentioned. The ship gets hit and Noble Leader is badly hurt, which is to say, dying. He has you and the other remaining member jump out so you can get to the ship while he draws the Covenant fire away from you. The attacking Banshees follow him off into the distance, leaving you free to deal with the ground forces.
Here's our destination, 6. Pillar of oil. Race you to her.
Not that way. Down at the bottom it's a basic firefight, though my partner there sometimes doesn't seem too bright. Here's a hint. If you're going to run over it, it's much more effective if you have a car. A little further on and we found a couple of mongooses. Mongeese. Whatever. But just because I could, I did something a little different. I hopped on the back and let the AI drive. He did a decent job, and it left me free to give us cover fire when this started happening.
Scarab, not engaged. Gun at 6.
The real test of his driving came when we had to jump this demolished bridge. That's a fail. I'm sorry, no license for you today, I'm afraid. Come back next week and try again. It took half a dozen tries to figure out where the best jump-off point was that would make Emil also get off and not go flying off the cliff again by himself. Yes, he did that twice. But once I got him out of the driver's seat, I decided to give the mongoose a try myself. See? That's how it's done. Okay, your turn. Oh, wait. I tried to make the jump the other way and see if I could pick him up and missed. Several more tries later, after Emil had run himself off the edge yet again and was somewhere down there at the bottom of the canyon, I managed to do this. Emil kept saying we could climb around to the south, and I think he meant not on the bridge. But hey, it worked, so I'll take it. Covenant have the road ahead blocked, so you're supposed to find an alternate route through the caves. What caves? Nobody's said anything about any caves so far. And somehow, Emil made it back up that cliff. You and he fight off some more Covenant, including a Wraith, and then we get a message from Noble Leader. We have a problem.
No, you can't. Not without help.
Commander, you don't have the firepower.
I've got the map.
Solid copy. Hit him hard, boss.
You're on your own, Noble. Carter out.
Crevice to the east. Let's go.
As I've said, this is a hard game to do. I've gotten to care about these guys. That's another one gone. Let's make sure they count. In the cave, you encounter some buggers. Who knew they exploded? Cool! As you exit the cave, you hear from Captain Keyes. He started this launch countdown and it can't be stopped, so you'd better get a move on. He tells you how to get there and the fight is on. Well, it's not so much a fight as a sprint. While the Marines and everybody else does what they can to keep the Covenant off you, you make tracks for the dry dock and the Pillar of Autumn. But you do get to have a little fun along the way. That was my last round. You might have noticed the 0 in my ammo display. My other weapon was a plasma repeater and it was equally empty. Talk about making every shot count. Well, work to you too. Of course, we have to meet at least one pair of hunters. Nicely done, Emil. I guess the other one's mine.
die, you bastard!
I admit there is something gratifying about doing that at close range with the shotgun. But you saw one of my ongoing problems there. HTS. Heavy Thumb Syndrome. Everything was fine, but my thumb accidentally clicked one of the sticks and I went into zoom mode, so I couldn't even see my own victory shot. If you suffer from this syndrome, you have my heartfelt empathy. You reach the pad and tell Keys. He's on his way in a Pelican, so you need to clear an LZ for him. 5 gets on a big gun to shoot down dropships while you take care of the ground troops. It's an amazing battle of the kind you've come to expect from a Halo game. I'm just going to show that little snippet, A, in the interest of time, and B, so I don't spoil anything for you. Roughly infinity plus 124 drop ships land despite Emil's constant bombardment, and most of them are dropping brutes. Lucky for me, one of them had an awesome weapon. The poor little thing looked tired from carrying that big old hammer around, so I gladly relieved him of it and put it to good use. Sometimes I'm so nice I can't stand myself. I know, I just can't resist showing those. Still and always one of the funnest parts of the Halo universe. You clear the pad and Keys comes in. We see 6 give him the captured ferry, but as he takes off, a Covenant ship comes in and destroys his wingman. We need Emil to fire the big gun and take it out. There's just one problem.
Who's next? I'm ready! How about you?
He was the last member of Noble Team except for you. You declined to get on the Pelican. Your next task is to get that big gun operating again so the Autumn can get out of there with its precious cargo. You fight your way up to the gun and then take control of it.
Steady, Spartan.
Good gun, Spartan.
Captain Keyes said the mass driver couldn't break through the cruiser's shielding, but obviously something did.
All stations, brace for cast-off.
We see the Pillar of Autumn safely away, at least as far as Noble 6 knows. We know everything that came afterward, but thankfully he doesn't have to know what happened to the Captain, to Johnson, to Miranda Keyes, and all the rest. His job is done. We see a little bit of the beginning of the original Halo game and go to the credits.
Nobody reads those names anyway, do they?
Sure, they all have families.
I wasn't sure what to think of this. We know what our character's fate is going to be, and I couldn't decide whether it was better to see it and play it, or just leave it like this and let the players use their imagination. It does seem more than a little, noble to do it this way, but on the flip side, it almost feels like I've been cheated out of the really big finish. But for better or worse, that's the end of Reach. or not. Remember how at the end of Half-Life, G-Man said if you didn't take his deal, he'd give you a fight you had no chance of winning? And when you refused his deal, you got zilch? As usual, where Half-Life promises, Halo delivers. Yes, I'm still taking pot shots at Half-Life. Why? Because its fans are still taking pot shots at me, and fair is fair. This is incredible. They just keep coming, but there's plenty of room to maneuver, lots of weapons and ammo around, your shield is nice and strong, and this is the perfect ending to this game. You know you're going down, the only question is how many of them you're taking with you. After a while, things switch to a cutscene where we see Six take off his helmet, thus leading to what we saw at the beginning of the game. You don't actually see your character die, which is nice. And depending on your skill and ingenuity, you can keep that final fight going for a very long time. I just wish it kept score because I would have liked to know how many of the Covenant I did take with me. It's a shame they didn't end it right there, but we have to have a closing speech by Dr. Halsey explaining everything you just did and what it led to. It's sappy and dopey and all the other dwarfs, and I could have done without it. But I won't let it spoil things. I've said before that this is one of the hardest games I've ever played because I know the story. I know Reach is doomed, and I know my character is doomed as well. But how many guys get to be doomed saving the entire human race? I'd call that a fair trade-off. However, we have some major continuity problems here, mostly relating to Cortana. If she already had all of that stuff from that Forerunner artifact, she should have already known a lot more than she did about Halo, about the Flood, and all the rest. But in the first game, she picked it up as she went, first from the Covenant BattleNet, and later from Halo's control room itself. There's no indication that she was any kind of super AI at that point. But at least by the first Halo game, they'd let her out of that Tinkerbell trap and put her into a chip where she belongs. Then there's the matter of her choice. At the start of Halo 3, she told us that they let her choose her Spartan. She says she chose Master Chief because he had luck and all that. But she didn't. We never see him. She chose Noble 6, and even then she only chose him to be her courier to the ship. But by the end of the Covenant War, we hear that she chose John from the very first. I'm thankful I don't have a continuity alarm like some reviewers do, because it'd be busting my ears right now. Having said that, I'm not taking anything away from the general excellence of this game. I can play it again and again and not get tired of it. I found almost no glitches, the story is compelling and believable, the characters are memorable, and you really hurt when you lose one of them. The music enhances the overall experience in a way that I haven't seen in many other games. It plays fair, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat.
She reminded me of my mother, all right, no doubt about it.
Okay, so maybe I am drooling a little bit, but that's because this game is truly great. It takes all the best elements of the Halo experience and brings them together in one believable, rip-your-heart-out story that you won't soon forget. If you don't have it already, get it. Right now. Don't just sit there, go get it. And if you do have it, why are you watching me? Go play it. Right now. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, by the way, I'm Irving and I have no life. Just like you.
Well, finally, Irving got 3 slugs in the belly. It was right outside the Frontier Deli. He was sitting there twirling his gun around, and Butterfingers Irving gunned himself down. Irving. Big fat Irving. Big dum-dum Irving. Big dum-dum dead Irving. The 142nd fastest gun in the West.